I wish to say only a few words. On the other side of the Atlantic there is no freedom of any kind, and we have not even the right to claim freedom of speech. But can it be that here, too, there are tyrants who violate the individual right to express opinions on any subject? And do you call yourselves Republicans? No. There is no republic without freedom of speech. Before I came here, I knew the tyranny and oppression of kings. I felt it in my own person and friends and country. And when I came here, I expected to find that freedom which is denied us at home. Our sisters in Germany have long desired freedom, but there the desire is repressed as well as in man as in woman. There is no freedom there, even to claim human rights.
In 1849, feminist and journalist Mathilde Franziska Anneke and her husband, Fritz Anneke, fled Germany to start a life in the United States after the failed Revolution of 1848. Though at first saddened by the move, the United States would soon be a place that she called home. However, her love for her home country of Germany never left her.
Her life in Germany affected her life in the US a whole lot, I would say. You see the origins of her feminism in Germany. She really became a feminist during her sort of protracted divorce from her first husband. He was alcoholic and abusive, and she had a child. She got married very young, and then sort of was suffering this abuse and tried to get out of the marriage and retain custody of her daughter. And realized how hard that was. So that's sort of the grounding of her feminism. And she also became a writer.
Her life in Germany was an adventurous one. The revolutions of 1848 sought to unify the then divided Germany to make a more democratic state. Active in Cologne, Mathilde did everything she could to contribute to the cause.
So she's important in writing, sort of writing in support of the revolutions, which everyone knew was very important, and the government worked very hard to kind of shut down newspapers where the wrong things were being said. And she's part of sort of the discussions, these sort of discussion groups that are the place where people talk about this, where the movement is kind of nurtured. Fritz Anneke is arrested. He's a former Prussian army officer, and he is accused of trying to get troops to go against the government. And at that point, Mathilde Anneke takes over his editing work at the Kölnische Zeitung newspaper. At the same time, she has a second child. So reading her newspapers for this period, it's like, oh my goodness, this woman is working very hard to keep this newspaper going in the face of censorship while she's having her kid and trying to kind of stay in touch with her husband who's in prison.
After Fritz was released from prison, Mathilde fought alongside her husband as an unarmed ordinance in the revolutions. She had the dangerous job of riding from post to post, carrying messages throughout battles and in dangerous rides that lasted hours. This job was not met without hesitation from Anneke. She recalls her motive to go to war in a memoir she later published.
Many of you abroad and in the home country will reprove me that I, a woman, seem to have followed the cry to war. It is not war that called me, but love, and, I confess, also hatred. Glowing hatred which has arisen in the battles of life against tyrants of humanity.
Almost everywhere she went, she was met with great respect, and as Carl Schurz, a friend and United States politician, remembers, she was absolutely beautiful, in a black velvet dress and with shining blue eyes. On the occasion that she did receive a few catcalls from a group of young soldiers, Anneke gave an impromptu speech, reminding the soldiers that she was among their wives, sisters, and mothers. The soldiers promptly delivered an apology. After moving to the United States to escape persecution, Fritz and Mathilde were separated for almost the rest of their lives, speaking only to each other in passionate letters. Annika supported herself by speaking at conventions and sending in articles and creative work to newspapers. After receiving backlash from male printers in Milwaukee who refused to print a woman's paper, Annika moved to the East Coast, continuing to speak and write there.
Mathilde Annika has sort of two audiences. She is sort of in these two circles. She reaches German immigrants, and then she reaches sort of people who are part of the feminist movement, who are part of those radical circles, who are ready to hear those messages. And it's difficult, it's always difficult to gauge how deep that influence goes.
Though a respected feminist, Annika faced some backlash from the women's rights movement as feminists such as Elizabeth Cady Stanton made derogatory comments about German immigrants. This struggle to find a peaceful medium between German immigrants and white female suffragettes was nothing new to Annika.
In my mind, one of the interesting things about her career is that she is really part of the German-speaking community. And of course, there was a big German-speaking community in Milwaukee in the mid-19th century, and also part of these sort of feminist circles that were mostly Anglo-American, and more based on the East Coast. So she really has this unique sort of immigrant career of negotiating between those two groups and sort of telling Anglo-American abolitionists, no, you need to be more sensitive to immigrants, and you maybe need to be less rigid on things like temperance. And then trying to tell German immigrants, look, what about women's rights? This is something that we should be taking seriously. And I think that that's one of the things that makes her career very interesting and makes it very Milwaukee.
She was a gifted woman whose energetic nature exerted a wide influence. Sorrow and disappointment pursued her from childhood, but she faced each misfortune with cheerful courage, inspiring her associates. Henry Ledgler, a friend of Mathilde Franziska Annika.
Here they expect to find freedom of speech. Here, for if we cannot claim it here, where should we go for it? Here, at least, we ought to be able to express our opinions on all subjects. And yet it would appear there is no freedom, even here, to claim human rights. Although the only hope in our country for freedom of speech and action is directed to this country for illustration and example. That freedom I claim. The women of my country look to this for encouragement and sympathy, and they also sympathize with this cause. We hope it will go on and prosper, and many hearts across the ocean in Germany are beating in unison with those here.
Wait, it's slow. Keep it slow, Grace. Keep it slow. Keep it slow. Slower. You're breaking. Okay, no. Stop. Okay, you're good.